Captain's Log. Stardate, July 25th, 2025. Hello, everyone. Kristen Weston Chandler here. I'm recording an intro for the Saltine from Indiana video about me. I thought I need to tell you all to go give this video a like and maybe a sub. He would really appreciate it there, and he's really hoping to reach 1,000K here soon. And maybe go check out his second channel over at Saltine from Indiana again, where he play all the gameplay videos. And go check out that band there, Stick Drift. Both their first and second live shows are up on YouTube, and they sound pretty good. They make good full rock and roll music. I mean, Sonic Chu and Kristen Weston Chandler's music is better, but it's still a pretty groovy experience. That is all for this this little intro monologue I have here. So yeah. Curse the trolls, peace to everybody else. History is a very fickle thing. 1 minute, you could be getting told that the Iron Maiden was a medieval torture device, and then the next minute, someone's trying to gaslight you into thinking Joseph Stalin was actually a nice person. History isn't always 100% correct, but then again, there are a lot of parts of history that are correct, and at least everyone has some form of documentation. But I guarantee you there are not many humans more documented than the internet's favorite punching bag for the last 18 years, Kristen Weston Chandler.
Stop that brown stripe in the shirt with the paper medallion. Stop that imposter.
This man has been on the internet for so long, we know his entire adult life at this point. However, just like any other historical figure, there's a lot people get wrong about Chris Chan. Not saying I plan on covering everything that gets misconstrued about the Chandler's premiere. I'm just only covering a few certain ones that kind of stuck out to me. Not to brag or anything, but let me pull out my PhD in Christory. Now, there's a lot of stuff on here you probably already know if you dived into Chris Chan like I have. But what if you're new? What if you only know Chris for fucking his mom? What if you want to learn more about him? Well then, this is the video for you, my friend. You're gonna learn a couple of things about Chris Chan you never asked to learn. I only want to focus on things that are either a bit confusing or, in the very least, misconstrued amongst everyone online. Welcome to the Misconceptions of Kristen Weston Chandler! Now, when I say misconception here, I mean something that's just remembered wrong, or at least isn't told correctly. Going back to the Iron Maiden comparison, an example is that people thought it was a medieval torture weapon when no it wasn't. This video is kind of like that, except it centers more around high-functioning autism and racism towards black kids that beat you in a children's card game. But the first dive I want to take is just ripping the band-aid straight off. Let's talk about the jail saga. The jail saga is the most recent endeavor Chris Chan has gotten himself into that is notorious, I want to say, and it exposed that Chris is a motherfucker. Let's get the elephant out of the room here. Chris did in fact get arrested on an incest charge. The case was dismissed because of his autism. So while he was arrested for being a motherfucker, he was never legally convicted of being a motherfucker. I mean, did he do it? 100%. He did the hanky spanky, alright. That boy went ape shit. Someone told him do the monkey, he looked at Barb and he said, there's evidence to prove Chris did this aside from the phone call with Isabel the Snake Janky. However, I want to clarify the idea guys have nothing to do with the incest shit, mind you. Yeah, I've seen a couple of things floating online talking about the idea guys giving Chris that idea that he should make the bloodline pure again, but no, they had nothing to do with it. The first thing that was really amiss about this and brought to everyone's attention was when he started bragging to Josh Josh Moon, aka Noel, about his new girlfriend. And Noel was actually the guy who called the cops. The only thing the idea guys were really responsible for here was firming that belief of the dimensional merge in Chris's head. However, thanks to a Bible in the jail cell, Chris just started believing he was Jesus. And he really hates it when you mention his Oedipus complex. I guess the main thing with this entry was that I wanted to highlight that Chris was more than just a guy who fucked his mom, but I also wanted to talk about the incident where he did fuck his mom. All you gotta know is that it more than likely did happen. There's just so much hush-hush behind this situation that not everyone knows the real story. However, if you just go to the quickie, you could probably piece it together real easy. Essentially how I view it, Chris fucked his mom, got arrested, didn't get in prison for it, and then was sent to a halfway house or something, and now he's just loose. However, since we talked about her, let's talk about Barbara, because there is a lot about Barbara that needs to be said in such a short amount of time. Barbara Chandler is a miserable excuse of a human being, and if you only know Chris for fucking his dementia-riddled mom, you better sit down, because Barb is actually worse than Chris most days. And I'm saying this 100% with the firm belief that I think Chris Chan is a horrible human being. Barb, on the other hand, good lord, she is miserable. Barb was never the victim here. Okay, she was not even close to being the victim here. If anything, if all accounts are to be believed, she hit on Chris first. I mean, I don't think she wanted Chris to, you know, plow her backside, but yeah, she was the reason why Chris and her had that same bed experience to begin with. Barb has always been a very manipulative person and is just downright abusive in some cases, emotionally towards Chris. Take for example the night Chris wanted to go to some con, Barb straight up threatened to kill herself, and then she just gaslights Chris into believing he's better than he actually is. But the main thing is that Barb is also extremely lazy and a hoarder. She just spends all her money on stupid shit. When she realizes her bills are due, she yells at Chris to pay it, and then Chris has to beg to people. That was pretty much the entire financial crisis summarized. She essentially turned Chris into her servant, and it's not like sexual tension didn't just randomly show up. It was always kind of there after Bob died, especially with Chris being very touchy with Barb, calling her things like dear or sweetheart, or even that one time he got mad and he actually humped a pillow effigy of Barb right in front of her. Dude, what the fuck is going on in Chris's head most these days? I guess the other thing about Barb I should highlight is that she has never been confirmed nor has been diagnosed with dementia. I've seen everyone claim her to have like severe dementia. No, she straight up doesn't have it, or at least we don't know if she has it. Biggest point, she was able to testify in court. I know y'all seen the videos of her looking like she's struggling to speak, but I feel like that's part of the fact that she's 80. Yeah, she's getting old. Of course she's gonna be senile, especially with how she lived her life. In an incident that happened recently, someone stopped in front of 14 Branchland Court, and Barb was able to talk to them normally. I guess the dementia shit kind of came from Barb just tweaking out, but no, she does not have it at all. But the one thing we do know is that Barb kind of made the first moves on Chris when she had him snuggle with him. Chris, being the big fucking idiot he is, thought that was an open invitation. Okay, the last part's kind of my own personal spin on things. I don't entirely know if it was consensual or if it wasn't. All I know is that it was never charged as rape, so therefore Barb consented to a degree. And then immediately after that, Chris started throwing tantrums for the judge not allowing him to have toys in the courtroom. Now let's move on to a hot button topic here. Time to talk about gender, kiddos. Chris Chan is not trans. Okay, there's a lot of moving parts to that. I don't believe Chris Chan is actually trans, but I asked you guys on YouTube, what do you think about it? And everyone who voted said no. To tell you the truth, he is and he isn't. He is in the sense that there is evidence to show he has some form of gender dysphoria, especially with him trying out hormones to make himself sound more like a woman, look more like a woman, or him cross-dressing and experimenting with that. I think the big one for me was that he always had a intense hatred towards men that weren't either Bob Chandler, the fucking bear conductor, or Santa Claus. He also complained a lot about his masculine features like body hair, and he also had a blatant homophobic bias towards gay men. Not really lesbians. In one of his videos, he said you should keep straight, but he hated gay men and always drew the villains in his comics as gay. Hell, back in the day, you had an easier time invading Russia in the winter than trying to get Chris Chan to admit he's gay. Of course, it gave us this moment.
Boobies.
vaginas. Gorgeous.
But the personal reason as to why I don't think Chris Chan is transgender is because he doesn't really understand gender at all. He literally thought subliminal hypnosis videos would give him superpowers and be able to transition him to a woman. And let's not talk about the unclit, okay? I can't show the unclit on here. I'm gonna get banned. But another part of me, and this is a more subjective theory of mine, is that I don't think Chris Chan is entirely transgender because he's trying to use it as another sympathy bait technique. It's been shown countless of times he does this with autism, like almost every single chance he can, especially with Kick the Autistic. I wouldn't put him past it to do it with a transgender identity. The big misconception, and even I fell for this, was that Chris was doing this just to get with lesbian women. No, he is not. That was just a misinterpreted quote. Why was it misinterpreted? Try talking to Chris Chan for more than 5 seconds and try to understand what he's saying. The actual quote was about a hermaphrodite child. When asked what gender he'd want the child to be raised as, he would say male because he knows they won't be able to produce eggs anyway, leaving more sex to him, lesbians included. He says that, but I mean, come on, look at him. Who'd fall for him? Who would actually... shit. So then there's the other discussion, why do I refer to him in male pronouns when he's trans? I can tell you one thing, it's not transphobia. Trans people are people too, let's respect them. It's actually because Chris is so far gone in his god delusion, he doesn't give a shit what pronoun you use. Okay, for the last misconception on this list, let's talk about something you probably would not expect. Have you ever wanted to meet Chris Chan? Have you ever wanted to go set out finding him like he's the One Piece? Well, you probably shouldn't. It is a very, very, very bad idea to go look for Chris. Yeah, sure, he may be a Euclid tier lolcow, but a lolcow is still a lolcow. Repeating what I said in my Nova video, lolcows are like animals at a zoo. You can look at them, but never touch them. Chris is no exception. It also doesn't help that you're no longer bullying a 20-year-old autistic man-child. You're now bullying a 40-year-old autistic man-child. Chris is not the same Chris that we knew back in the day, and that's the sad part. He either will give you that reaction or he will not give you that reaction. There's no guarantees anymore. But if you want a big, oh god damn it mom, but if you want a big way to get on the internet's shit list, go ahead and bother him. Become an A-logger or a ween. The internet does not like A-loggers, and they definitely do not like weens. A ween is basically someone who wants to be Clyde Cash and tries to troll Chris in minor ways, and they consider it a small win. Chris nowadays, you know, is an experienced troll veteran, so he could just straight up ignore trolls now. Plus, it's also just a good idea never to harass anyone, like, ever. Oh wow, you were a dick to someone over the internet. Here's your fucking badge of honor, douchebag. My advice to you all is that you're never going to be the next Clyde Cash. You're never going to be the next Liquid Chris. You're just going to be an internet talking to an autistic man-child. And mind you, you're bullying Chris now after he sent death threats to the White House in fucking Legos, or ran over a guy with his car because he wouldn't let him back into a children's game store, let alone maced a GameStop employee over a hedgehog's arm color. You really want to go out and meet that guy right now? There's really just some weird power dynamic a lot of people on the internet have where they think they could just go out and meet whoever they want, and in reality it's not a good idea ever, because this even extends to the people in Chris's life. Like, I don't like Barb. I think she's a horrible person, a big piece of shit, and I'm never ever going to take this statement back. But I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, go out of your way to go find the old hag and bother her. No, don't ever do that. That's a stupid idea. Like, yeah, sure, you can go talk to people, but just don't harass people, okay? It's never a good idea. Ever. That's how you get yourself killed. I'm not saying Chris Chan's gonna be the guy to kill you. I'm just saying, if you harass the wrong person enough,
consequences will never be the same.
And this misconception also extends to other locales like King Cobra, Cyrax, Nova, Daniel Larson. Literally, do not harass Daniel Larson. He will try to kill you. I just don't know why it's not common knowledge that you shouldn't go touch the poo. If you poke the bear will bite your head off. Chris nowadays is a lot harder to pinpoint and track down because he's not online like he used to be. But as I said earlier, you're not bullying 20-year-old fresh off the block, no experience with trolls, Chris. You're trolling 40-year-old in his own head, God delusion, dating a fucking Pokemon, Chris. Bob and Barb aren't going to fight his battles anymore. Chris has to fight his own shit. It's just so much easier to just not interact with Chris Chan at all. Just don't go looking for him. Just don't contact him. Hell, even on Twitter, he can only respond to you if he follows you. So that's honestly a good thing. Hell, also just don't give Chris Chan money. I think that speaks for itself, but Chris Chan has Etsy stores and eBay stuff, and it's just never a good idea to give Chris Chan any form of compensation. He recently launched a Sonichu doll, and that was like $40 for some fucking reason. But the big reason I say don't give Chris money unless you want to help him out with his financial situation is because Chris Chan will spend your money on video games and Legos. Believe me, I'm bad with money myself, but I didn't buy 8 of the same fucking console in one day! And if you piss Chris Chan off with an Etsy order, he will just straight up dox you. It's happened before. And those are some little misconceptions I perceived around Kristen West and Chandler. They may not be fully misconceptions, but a lot of them are misinterpreted and just retold differently on the internet. So I felt important to at least summarize some of them and try to get around the misconceptions that people have about our favorite Autismo. I know I've been a bit inconsistent with the videos lately, but I've been trying, okay? I thought I'd make a video about Chris Chan, but I'm never going to make a full video about him personally, so this is the best you're gonna get. And hey, go check out my other videos on Locals. Go check out the Nova video. Oh, go look at Sega Sonic Gamer. You ever heard of him? No? Watch it! And while you're snooping through my video catalog, why don't you go leave a like on this video? Maybe give me a big ol' sub. Sexually assault that comment section, you know? And maybe go check out my second channel, Saltine from Indiana again. I've uploaded a couple of videos on there already. You guys should also go check out his band Stick Drift. Their first 2 live shows are up on YouTube right now, and they're about to drop their first EP here soon. But in the meantime, folks, don't be like Chris Chan. Don't put semen in your Fanta.